The colony lay at the edge of the galaxy, a forgotten fragment of human hope. Its structures, made of pale metal and glass, reflected the dim light of a distant sun, flickering like dying stars. Wind, sharp and hollow, swept through the empty streets, carrying the smell of iron and dust. Here, humanity had clung to survival, holding on to fragile lives against the vast emptiness of space. Captain Elias Vire walked alone through the corridors of the central dome. His boots echoed in the silence. He was a man of discipline, shaped by years of command and responsibility. Every corner of the colony reminded him of the lives he had lost and the mistakes he had made. For years, he had kept his emotions locked away, pouring them only into a journal he guarded fiercely. That journal was more than pages and ink. It was a sanctuary for the truths he could not share with anyone else. In it, he had written about fear, grief, and moments of fleeting joy. He had written about hope, too, a stubborn, quiet hope that had survived the collapse of so many dreams. It was during one of these quiet evenings, when the colony seemed almost empty of life, that she appeared. Leora stepped through the airlock like a shadow of the stars. She was not human, though she moved with an elegance that seemed familiar, almost comforting. Her skin shimmered faintly in the dim light, silver threads weaving through pale violet tones. Her eyes were deep pools of unknown galaxies, reflecting both curiosity and sorrow. She carried herself with a calm that felt ancient, as if she had walked through centuries of worlds. Elias noticed her immediately. He had encountered alien life before, but none like her, none that seemed so human in emotion, yet entirely otherworldly. "Who are you?" he asked, voice steady but cautious. She did not answer immediately. Instead, she looked at the colony, at its broken buildings, its flickering lights, its empty streets. Her gaze lingered on the small details, the bent metal of a collapsed dome, a tattered banner fluttering in the wind, the faint traces of life that had tried to survive here. "I am Leora," she finally said, her voice soft yet clear, like a melody carried by the wind. I was drawn here." He had faced many dangers, pirates, storms in space, political conflicts. But this presence was unlike anything he had encountered. It unsettled him, but also stirred a part of him he had long buried. Days passed, and Leora made herself part of the colony quietly, moving through its ruins without touching or disturbing much. She observed humans as they went about their work, their small routines, their moments of laughter and tension. Elias watched her from a distance, wary yet intrigued. It was one quiet night, when the colony was draped in the silver light of twin moons, that Leora found the journal. It was lying on a small desk in the captain's quarters, partially open as if inviting discovery. She did not hesitate. Her fingers, delicate and luminous, traced the edges of the pages. Then she began to read. The words were strange yet familiar, echoing emotions she had seen in the humans around her. The pages told stories of loss and hope, of love remembered and mistakes regretted. She read about Elia's nights spent staring at the stars, thinking of what had been lost, what might never come. She read about his fears he could not voice even to his closest companions. She did not turn away. She did not judge. She only absorbed it, letting the words sink into her mind, into her understanding of this fragile species. Elias returned at the quietest moment, expecting privacy. He froze at the doorway, watching her read. His heart pounded not with fear, but with a strange vulnerability he had not felt in years. You've read it," he said, almost a whisper. Leora looked up, her eyes calm. "I have. It is beautiful," she said simply. "And painful. You carry so much within yourself, Elias Vire. And yet you continue to move forward. It is something to face, and you face it even when it hurts. That is admirable." She would read silently in the quiet corners of the colony, absorbing his thoughts, reflecting on them, and sometimes smiling faintly at a memory or an idea. Elias, though initially tense, began to leave the journal where she could find it. He did not yet speak to her much about what he wrote, but a silent understanding began to form between them. In the evenings, he would watch her move through the corridors, graceful and silent, yet always present. He noticed how she seemed to understand human gestures, the small movements of hands and eyes that revealed thoughts and feelings. She was learning, yet she was teaching him as well. There was a particular night when the moons hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the colony, that Elias finally spoke about the contents of the journal. I wrote about my mistakes," he said quietly, standing near the ruins of what had once been the central plaza. "About decisions I regret, people I failed. I never thought anyone would read this. That you still hope. I do not turn away from hope, Elias Vire, and I do not turn away from truth." The walls, the wind, the faint glow of distant stars, they were witnesses to this fragile bond. But Leora's presence, as calm and welcoming as it seemed, carried an unspoken tension. She was not fully of this world, and her own past, her own secrets, remained hidden beneath her serene exterior. Elias could sense it in the way she paused when asked simple questions, in the faint melancholy that crossed her expression when she thought no one watched. Yet neither of them spoke of it. For now, the bond they shared over words and truth was enough. It was during one of these quiet nights that Leora turned a page and paused. Her eyes darkened, reflecting not sorrow but recognition. She had reached a part of the journal that spoke of a betrayal, a moment when Elias had trusted someone who had failed him, leaving him wounded and alone. She read it, silent and still. Then, without a word, she looked up at the sky and let a faint sigh escape her lips. Elias, standing nearby, felt a chill. You know everything now," he said quietly, almost afraid of her answer. "I know," she replied, "and yet I do not recoil, I do not turn away, that is what matters." The wind whispered through the colony, carrying dust and distant echoes of forgotten voices. Leora remained by the journal, reading, thinking, absorbing. Elias stood near her, feeling a strange mixture of fear and anticipation. He did not know what this alien woman had come for. He did not know why she chose to stay. But he understood one thing. The quiet moments between them, the sharing of truth and understanding, were the beginning of something neither of them could yet name. But both would feel deeply. And in the silence, as the twin moons cast their glow over the empty colony, Elias realized that the presence of Leora, so alien yet so profoundly understanding, was the first light in a long night. For the first time, he did not feel alone, but neither of them knew what secrets the universe still held, or how their bond would be tested by the darkness to come. And so, in the quiet of the dying colony, under alien moons and a sky full of stars, Leora read. Elias watched. And the first threads of trust, of hope, of something deeper, began to weave themselves between them, threads that neither would see broken easily. The twin moons hung low in the sky, casting their pale silver light over the quiet colony. Shadows stretched across the empty streets, curling around broken structures like silent ghosts. The air was cold, carrying the smell of metal and dust, but there was a strange calm to the night, a calm that felt almost sacred. Elias Vire moved through the corridors of the central dome, his mind restless. Since Leora had arrived and discovered his journal, nothing felt the same. He could not stop thinking about her, about the way she had read every word, every secret without judgment. The thought unsettled him, and yet brought a warmth he had not known in years. Leora was not human, but she moved with a grace that seemed familiar. She had a quiet curiosity about the humans around her, yet she carried herself with restraint, as if touching the world lightly so as not to disturb it. Elias had observed her often, noticing the way she paused at simple things, a faded photograph, a cracked wall, the faint glow of a dying light. She saw life in what humans often ignored. That night he found her standing by the edge of the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. The vast darkness of space stretched endlessly before her, dotted with distant suns and uncharted worlds. "You watch them a lot," Elias said quietly, stepping beside her. Leora did not startle. She turned her eyes toward him, reflecting the pale light of the moons. "I watch, yes, but not them. I watch their lives, their choices, their hearts. Even here, even among ruins, hope survives. Humans hold it tightly. It makes them fragile and strong at the same time." But her words stirred something in him, a longing he had buried long ago. "I wrote about hope," he admitted finally, glancing down at the journal he still carried in his satchel. "And fear, and failure. They'd call me weak or foolish." He wanted to believe her, but he had spent so long hiding his emotions that opening himself felt impossible. "Why do you care?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Because I see you," she said simply. "And in seeing I cannot look away. The universe is vast, Elias. I have walked among worlds, witnessed empires rise and fall, and yet I have never encountered a heart so alive and so heavy." Leora stepped closer, but carefully, keeping a respectful distance. "There is no need for words, not yet." There was a weight to her presence, as if she carried centuries of memory and wisdom within her. For the next few days, Elias and Leora spent more time together, though never speaking too much. She learned to move among the humans without interfering, observing their routines, their joys, their struggles. Elias watched her, fascinated by how she could be so alien and yet so empathetic. One evening, as the moons rose high in the sky, Elias found her sitting alone in the library, the journal open in front of her. She was reading, but her expression was thoughtful, almost sorrowful. "You read it again?" he said quietly, not wanting to startle her. "Yes," she replied, her voice calm. "There is much to understand. Your heart is complicated. But it is also beautiful." For years he had trained himself to be alone, to rely only on his own strength. But here was someone who saw him, truly saw him, and did not turn away. The silence stretched between them, filled only by the faint hum of the colony and the distant sound of wind across the ruins. It was not uncomfortable. It was a quiet understanding, a connection forming without words. "Do you miss your home?" Leora asked suddenly, her voice gentle. Elias considered the question. "I suppose I do," he admitted. "But home is gone. This colony, it is all I have now. Otherwise, what is the point?" He wondered if she felt the same pull toward him, toward humanity itself. The next morning, Leora approached him quietly as he worked in the control room. "Would you like to show me something?" she asked. Elias looked up, surprised. "Something what?" Then slowly he opened the satchel containing his journal. He handed it to her page by page, allowing her to see his life, his thoughts, his fears, and his hopes. She took it carefully, as if handling something precious. Her eyes softened as she read, her expression thoughtful. "You carry much," she said quietly, "and yet you continue forward. That is remarkable. I wish to learn." They did not speak much, but in their silences a language was forming, a language of understanding, of shared emotion, of trust. Leora learned to anticipate Elia's moods, to sense when he was troubled, to offer quiet comfort without words. Elias, in turn, began to open himself in small ways, sharing stories of his past, memories of loved ones lost, fears he had never voiced. He found that speaking to her, even about his mistakes, brought a strange relief. She did not judge, she did not scold, she simply listened. One evening, as the colony prepared for the night, Elias found himself standing beside her once more on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly above them, distant and cold, yet full of light. "Do you ever feel lonely?" he asked quietly. Leora paused, looking at the sky. "Yes," she admitted. "Even among my kind, I have felt loneliness, but here, among humans, I feel something different. I feel curiosity and hope and longing, and I do not turn away from it. I don't understand it, but I feel it." For all their closeness, Elias knew there were parts of Leora he would never understand. Parts of her past, her existence, that might one day test the fragile bond forming between them. But for now, in the quiet of the observation deck, beneath twin moons and an endless sky, they allowed themselves to feel, to hope, to trust. And in that small, fragile moment, the universe seemed a little less empty, a little more alive, as if it recognized the beginning of something extraordinary. Because even in the cold, distant reaches of space, hearts could connect. And even the most alien among them could learn the language of longing. The colony had begun to stir under the light of its twin moons, yet a quiet tension hung in the air. The humans moved with purpose, repairing structures and tending to the small gardens that kept them alive. Their faces were lined with fatigue, yet there was determination in their eyes. Survival was never easy on this edge of the galaxy, but it was their duty, their burden, and their pride. Elias Vire walked through the corridors of the central dome, his mind heavy with thoughts of Leora. Her presence had become a constant in his life, a quiet but undeniable force. He found himself watching for her movements, noticing how she observed not just humans, but the colony itself, the way she sensed what was broken, what needed attention, what could survive. Leora had become more than a curiosity. She was a presence that demanded attention, yet offered no demands in return. She did not ask for trust, she inspired it. Elias could not explain why, but he felt drawn to her in a way he had not felt for anyone in decades. That morning, a new alarm pierced the quiet. Red lights flashed through the corridors as a warning siren blared. Humans ran to the command center, their expressions tense and anxious. "What is it?" Elias shouted as he joined them. "An unidentified vessel approaching," a technician reported. "It's massive, far beyond anything we've encountered. They intend to take or destroy. But it will not be enough without using what I can offer. But I may lose something, something I cannot regain. I will share in your world, and it may change me forever. Whatever it takes." The alien vessel appeared beyond the colony's shield, massive and dark, moving with silent precision. Elias and the humans watched as it drew closer, feeling the threat in their bones. Leora's glow intensified, a protective barrier forming around the colony. She did not speak, but Elias could sense her focus, her determination. She was the shield, the power, and the heart of their defense all at once. The attack began. Dark tendrils of energy lashed against the colony's shields, testing their strength. Humans scrambled to respond, using every system they had to repel the assault. Yet it was Leora's presence that held them, that kept the colony from collapsing under the weight of the attack. Elias worked beside her, coordinating defenses, issuing commands, yet he could not tear his eyes from her. He had never seen such power, such control, and such grace. She was otherworldly and yet entirely present, entirely human in her care for this fragile colony. Hours passed. The attack ebbed and flowed like a storm across the stars. Leora's energy formed a shield that deflected the tendrils, protecting buildings, crops, and people alike. Yet he noticed the toll it was taking on her, the faint pallor in her eyes, the tension in her movements, the subtle exhaustion beneath her calm exterior. "Leora," he said quietly during a brief lull, "you can't keep this up forever. You need rest." He felt both awe and fear, awed by her strength, fearful of what might happen if that strength failed. During a moment of quiet, as the enemy ship prepared for another strike, Leora turned to him. Her eyes reflected a mix of concern and sorrow. "There is more you need to know," she said. "I am not invincible. I am powerful, yes, but I am not immune to consequence. If I pour all of myself into defending this place, it may change me. It may bind me to your world in ways I cannot undo. Then I will do what is needed, but you must promise me something, Elias Vire." Leora raised her hands, and the energy formed a luminous barrier around the buildings. The humans watched in awe as the tendrils of darkness shattered against her shield. But the attack was relentless. It pressed against her, against the colony, against everything Elias had fought to protect. He could see the strain in her movements, the faint tremor in her hands, the exhaustion hidden behind her calm face. And then the ship fired a massive beam, larger and more focused than any before. Elias felt a surge of fear, a cold wave that threatened to paralyze him. The humans screamed and ran for cover, but Leora stood firm. The beam struck her shield, and the energy flared brilliantly, blinding him for a moment. When he could see again, he noticed her stagger slightly, her glow flickering. She had absorbed the full force of the attack to protect the colony. Elias' heart raced. "Leora!" he shouted, rushing to her side. She steadied herself, breathing slowly, her eyes meeting his. "I am all right," she said, though her voice carried a quiet tremor. "But it is only a matter of time before their next strike. I cannot hold forever." "You are brave, Elias Vire, and stubborn. That will serve you well." As the battle raged on, Elias noticed something he had not seen before, a flicker of doubt in Leora's eyes, a fear that she had never allowed to surface. And in that moment, he realized the depth of her sacrifice. She was putting everything at risk, giving of herself fully, and there was no certainty she would emerge unscathed. The next strike hit harder than ever before. Leora's shield cracked slightly under the force, sending waves of energy across the colony. Buildings shuddered, humans screamed, and Elias felt a surge of panic. "Hold on," he shouted, running to her side. "I am trying," she said, voice trembling slightly, "but it may not be enough." For a moment he feared the worst, that she might falter, that the colony might fall, that everything they had built would be destroyed. But then she steadied herself, drawing in a deep breath. The glow returned, stronger, brighter, more controlled. The tendrils of the enemy attack shattered against her, scattering into the void of space. The colony survived, for now. Elias stood beside her, heart pounding, sweat running down his face. "You did it," he said, voice filled with awe. "You saved everyone." He realized then that their bond, forged in quiet understanding and strengthened in battle, was deeper than he had ever imagined. They were not just captain and alien visitor. They were partners, bound by trust, courage, and the shared struggle of survival. And as they stood together, watching the enemy vessel retreat into the darkness, Elias knew one thing with certainty. The universe was vast, full of shadows and power beyond their understanding, but with Leora by his side, he could face it. But he also knew this: the bond between them would be tested further. Their hearts, already entwined by trust and shared struggle, would face new trials. And the choices they made now could shape not only their lives, but the fate of the entire colony. The night was quiet again, but a sense of tension remained, like the calm before another storm. Elias and Leora shared a silent glance, understanding that this was only the beginning. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the moons, the enemy watched, waiting for the right moment to strike again. The colony was quiet now, but the tension lingered like a shadow over every building and corridor. The humans moved carefully, repairing damages and tending to their wounded. The twin moons hung high above, casting their pale silver light across the broken streets. Even after the battle, the sense of danger had not disappeared. Elias Vire walked through the central dome, his boots echoing softly against the metal floor. His mind was restless. He could not stop thinking about Leora. Her power had saved the colony, but he had seen the strain in her eyes. He had felt the weight of her effort, the quiet cost she bore to protect them all. He found her standing in the observation deck, gazing at the stars as she often did, but tonight her posture was different. There was a faint tension in her shoulders, a quiet fatigue in her movements. "Leora," he said softly, approaching her, "are you all right? I have given much of myself to protect this place. My power is stronger now, yes, but it has also bound me in ways I cannot fully control. It has made me part of your world. I feel your pain, your fears, your life as if it were my own. And that is both gift and burden. And soon, you will see what that cost truly is." One evening, Elias approached her as she sat near the central garden. "Leora," he said softly, "you've been quiet. Are you in pain?" "I cannot hide from it. You've shown me what it means to trust again, to hope again, and I want to help you through this." One morning, the alarms blared once more. Elias rushed to the command center, with Leora following close behind. The screens displayed movement in the distance, a new threat approaching the colony. "They are returning," Leora said quietly. Her voice carried an undercurrent of worry. "But this time they will not hold back. Their intent is clear. They seek to take me and the colony. And they will not be deterred by human defenses alone." Yet he also saw the toll it took on her. Her glow was dimmer, her movements slower, her breathing more deliberate. During a brief lull in the attack, Elias approached her. "Leora," he said softly, "you've done more than anyone could ask, but you can't keep giving everything of yourself. You will suffer if you continue. But I cannot abandon this place or its people, not when they depend on me, and not when I have come to care for them and for you." Leora's shield flared brightly, absorbing the impact of the enemy's energy tendrils. Buildings trembled, alarms blared, and humans scrambled to safety. Elias coordinated defenses, giving commands, repairing systems, and protecting those who could not defend themselves. But then something unexpected happened. Leora faltered. Her glow flickered violently, and she staggered backward. Elias ran to her side, catching her just in time. You're exhausted," he said, worry flooding his voice. "You have to rest. You don't have to do this alone." But through it all, Elias and Leora fought side by side. He noticed the strength in her, tempered by vulnerability, and realized that true power was not just in her abilities, but in the courage to face fear, to care, and to protect others even when it cost her. As the final wave of attack hit, Leora poured all of her remaining energy into the shield, creating a brilliant barrier that engulfed the colony. The enemy's assault shattered against it, scattering into the void of space. For a moment, silence returned. The colony had survived. Elias held her close, feeling the faint tremor in her hands, the exhaustion in her breath. "You did it," he whispered. "You saved us all. That is what matters." Leora moved among them, her presence gentle yet still powerful. She had changed, yes, but she was stronger for it, tempered by human experience and emotion. Elias watched her often, marveling at the balance she had achieved, the harmony between alien power and human compassion. He realized that their connection had become more than trust. It had become understanding, mutual respect, and a quiet, unspoken affection. One night, as the twin moons cast silver light over the colony, Elias and Leora stood together on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly above, distant and cold, yet full of possibility. "We have survived," Elias said quietly. "But the universe is vast and danger is never far. We must remain vigilant." Yet beneath their calm, both knew that trials would come again. The enemy had retreated, but they had not been defeated. Shadows still lingered beyond the moons, waiting for the moment to strike once more. And both Elias and Leora understood that their bond, already forged through shared struggle, would be tested in ways they could not yet imagine. But for now, in the quiet of the observation deck, beneath twin moons and endless stars, they allowed themselves to feel hope. And in that hope, they found strength. Because even in the vast darkness of space, even in the face of impossible odds, trust, courage, and connection could shine brighter than any weapon. The colony was alive with cautious relief. Buildings had been repaired, gardens tended, and humans moved with quiet determination. Yet even in the calm, an unspoken tension remained. Elias Vire knew the universe was vast, full of dangers they could not yet see. But for the first time, he felt a confidence that went beyond his years of training. He was not alone. Leora stood beside him, and together they had faced the impossible. The twin moons hung high above the colony, casting silver light across the streets and rooftops. The night was still, yet Elias could feel the pulse of life, both human and alien, vibrating through the air. He walked toward the central plaza where Leora waited. She was standing beneath the glow of the moons, her presence calm, yet filled with quiet strength. "You look different," he said softly, stepping beside her. "Since the battle, since everything. And it has made me whole in ways I never imagined. It is in the courage to face what you fear, to protect those you love, and to trust even when the future is uncertain. That is true strength. You've shown me what it means to trust, to hope, to feel again." Red lights flashed across the colony, and the distant hum of a massive vessel echoed in the void of space. Elias' heart tightened. "They're back," he whispered. Leora nodded, her expression resolute. "Yes, the force that attacked before it has returned, stronger, more determined, and they will not stop until they take me and this colony." "Then we face it together," he said firmly, "as we always have." Tendrils of energy struck the shield with relentless force, testing Leora's limits and the humans' defenses alike. Elias fought alongside her, coordinating humans, repairing systems, and protecting those who could not defend themselves. He watched as Leora absorbed the brunt of the attack, her strength unwavering, yet he noticed a subtle strain in her movements, a faint tremor in her hands. "Leora," he shouted over the chaos, "you can't hold this forever." They had grown together, learning from each other, and now that bond would determine the fate of the colony. The enemy launched a massive assault, their energy beams converging on a single point. Elias realized that even Leora's power might not be enough to withstand it. Without hesitation, he joined her side, lending his strength, focus, and guidance to amplify her protective energy. Together, human and alien, they formed a singular force. The beams struck Leora's shield, and for a terrifying moment it faltered. Buildings shook, alarms blared, and the humans screamed. But then something remarkable happened. Leora's glow intensified, brighter and purer than ever before. Elias felt the surge of energy between them, the bond they had forged acting as a conduit for strength, courage, and hope. The enemy's tendrils shattered against the barrier, scattering into the void of space. Silence fell over the colony. The threat was gone, at least for now. Humans emerged cautiously from their shelters, looking to Leora and Elias with awe and gratitude. Elias turned to her, heart pounding. "You did it. You saved everyone again. You are here with me, and that is enough. That is what matters." Humans worked tirelessly, inspired by Leora's strength and courage. They repaired buildings, tended to gardens, and strengthened defenses. Yet even as they worked, Elias and Leora shared quiet moments of understanding, reflection, and connection. One evening, as the twin moons cast silver light over the colony, Elias found himself sitting beside Leora in the central garden. The journal lay open between them, its pages filled with words that had once been private, now shared and understood. "Do you remember when you first read this?" Elias asked softly, gesturing to the journal. Leora nodded, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "I do. I remember every word, and I remember the courage it took to write them. That courage, it inspired me to stay, to fight, to protect this place and its people. And now it carries our shared story." The night was still, yet alive with possibility. The stars stretched endlessly, distant yet familiar, as if they too acknowledged the bond between the two of them. Leora turned to him, eyes soft and warm. "Elias, whatever comes next, whatever challenges the universe sends, we face them together. That is our strength." And in that moment, the universe seemed a little smaller, a little less daunting. They had faced impossible odds, survived battles beyond imagining, and emerged stronger for it. Yet somewhere beyond the moons, beyond the stars, Elias and Leora knew that challenges would come again. The universe was vast and full of shadows. But now they had something no enemy could take: trust, courage, and the bond they had forged through shared struggle. Weeks passed and the colony thrived. Humans worked with renewed purpose, inspired by the courage they had witnessed. Leora moved among them, a quiet guide and protector, no longer just a mysterious alien, but part of the life she had chosen to defend. Elias and Leora often sat together, reading and writing in the journal. It had become a symbol, not just of the past, but of the present and the future. Every page carried lessons learned, fears faced, and hopes realized. It was their story, and in it they saw the proof that connection, trust, and courage could overcome even the darkest shadows of the universe. One night, as the twin moons shone brightly, Leora picked up a pen and began to write in the journal herself. Elias watched quietly, seeing the careful precision in her hand, the concentration in her eyes. She paused, looking up at the stars, a soft smile on her lips. "The universe is watching," she whispered, "but we will write our own ending. And we will face it together," he said. The night was calm, yet alive. The stars above seemed to shimmer in acknowledgement, and in the quiet of the colony under the twin moons, two hearts, human and alien, beat in unison, bound by trust, courage, and love. For even in the vast darkness of space, even against impossible odds, connection, hope, and courage could shine brighter than any weapon. And together, Elias and Leora would face the universe, hand in hand, writing their story, beyond the pages, beyond the stars, and beyond the limits of fear. The alien woman read the human's journal and didn't turn away from the Truth I Sci-Fi story HFY.